guys, what's up? How is it going? We're already in mid-September. We are at September 15th. And I'm excited that fall is coming on. I'm actually down here in Houston, Texas. And so it's actually finally starting to get nice weather outside. So I'm on here today to talk about something really fun and really cool. If you're not in the know on color psychology, it's actually something that a lot of experts know when it comes to branding and when it comes to marketing. And it's really cool. It's actually something that creates a lot of emotions for people. And if you know how to use it right, it can be used in your favor. So, so that's what I'm here to talk about today. If you're here, let me know, say what's up. I would love to hear your thoughts on colors because people actually get pretty emotional on color. So drop me a hashtag live if you're here, or say, hey, I don't want to be talking to myself. I already know what color psychology is. So I thought it might be interesting for the crew. So hey, how's it going? Let me know if you're here, people. I'm going to be asking some questions to the crowd as well. So I'm excited to be here. So I got asked this question last week from a client about color psychology, and they actually thought it was really neat and wanted to know more about it. So the basis of color psychology, what it is wielding the power of what color is in its most natural form and using that in combination with other colors to create a bigger, greater meaning and emotion. And so that's pretty much what color psychology is. And so within that framework, hey Tracy, what's going on? Thanks for joining me. So within that framework, the way that you can look at your colors and think about, are you positioning yourself in the right way? So a lot of the brands I end up working with are clients that ended up naturally picked a color because they liked it. And they thought that it was their favorite color and it represented them. And then they thought that was the best foot forward in terms of getting clientele. So let me know if you're here. Say, hey, I want to make this as interactive as possible today. So say, hey, and tell me what your favorite color is. And I might use you as a reference or an example. So we're talking about color psychology today and how you use that within your branding. So either you're using it purposefully and you've planned for it and you know exactly what it's demonstrating in the marketplace, or it's one of those like accidental things that you fall on. And just a caveat for everyone, because I'm like a truth teller to the heart, keep it like it is, say it like it is. You can be successful without having your branding colors thought through, figured out, being used and wielded in the best way possible. What that does, though, is it doesn't put you in the best possible position that you could actually be in. And so what you want to do is take a look at your colors, and something you can just do at home right now. Look at your branding colors and see if you do have branding in place. Are they just your favorite colors? Are they something that you've always liked? Like maybe you painted your room that color, or with a lot of men that you might actually be colorblind. And so you're kind of resulting and you're just ending up back at where you can see, and so you can see blues. And so you decided to make blues your color. And what that ends up doing is it doesn't really reach your audience in the way that it could. And that's the big difference. It's the way that it could versus the way that it should. And the reason is that in order to pick the best branding colors and utilize that psychology for you in your business, it's understanding who are your competitors in your marketplace. Like, who do you think they are? And then who do your clients think your competitors are? And so knowing that you can believe somebody is your competition and your client is really telling you somebody else came to mind. So take a look at that and then understand and reflect on, do you look very different than they do, or do you look the same? And so in today's marketplace, if you want to stand out, if you want to be ahead, you need to be utilizing your colors to stand out. But you also need to do it in a way that actually attracts people. And so psychology quite literally, people have emotions tied to colors. And so the literal ones are like yellow makes people feel happy. Orange makes people feel energetic. Red can signal danger. And then black can connote dignified. And so those are kind of the basic definitions. But the piece that isn't discussed often is that there's a combination of colors. And so if you can imagine in your mind for a moment with me, if you were to combine red and black in your mind, like what kind of feeling do you have that comes up for you when you think of red and black? So those are extremely powerful and really high contrast colors. And so for me, I think of like a checkerboard, I think of NASCAR, I think of like a car brand and racing. I think of brands that I associate with that black and red. I also think about that it's a very masculine brand when I look at those two colors together. And so immediately you've built up some kind of anticipation of what you're going to expect with the next piece of information you get. So that's one example. Say, hey, Brenda. Hey, nice to have you guys here. Say hey to me if you're here. I was asking everyone, drop to me what your favorite color is, because I want to pick different colors of what your favorite is and help explain what that might actually mean. So I was just giving the example of black and white, black and red. And then you can take another example of black and white. So you look at that combination of colors and you think about something that is much more clear, clean. It can signify being very like to the point, straight to the point. So that can actually scream like that high level of contrast can scream confidence, It can also scream stoic. It can scream like, I'm cold, I don't have a heart, I only care about luxury. And so it can go in the other way. And so when you're working with colors like black and white for your branding, I want you to challenge yourself and realize, did you end up in black and white because you just couldn't pick the color and you didn't know what was right? So you're like, well, black and white is always safe, but that's not true. Totally not true. Black and white actually is sending off its own signal. Like it looks like a chessboard. It looks like you're entering into something extremely serious, to the point, and a little bit cold. So you have to be ready for that. And you have to know if that's truly you. Is that the emotions that you want to come across to your client avatar? Is that your first impression that you want to have? So let me say hey to somebody. Hey, Leon. Hey, thanks for joining me, buddy. Glad to see you on here. Leon's been killing it with his own lives. I'm super proud of you. He says, I changed for black and white. My brand used to be blue. I changed for black and white. That's interesting. I'd love to hear why you changed it and why you went in that direction. Charles, hey Charles, what's up? I will not ask you if you're related to Wilt Chamberlain. Your color is blue, and Brenda's favorite color is fire. I love that. That's awesome. Cool. Okay, cool. So let me say, that was my thought process for stellar writing. That Leon is explaining. Yeah. Put it in black and white shows elegance, straightforwardness, and high level. I think that makes a lot of sense in the direction you're going. And I think especially with something like writing, you usually see print in black and white. And so I think that is interesting. I would further challenge you to go look at what your competition is doing. So if you have your 3 closest competitors and they're all doing black and white, I would challenge you to differentiate yourself. Because that's one of the biggest ways people can remember you beyond the name. It's like the name, the color, tagline, and then who you are. It all just kind of combines and meshes in people's mind. And so color cuts straight through and goes into your subconscious brain. And you've been looking at color your entire life. So you've been assembling meaning, and it changes culturally. So for example, in China, the color yellow is associated with good luck and fortune, and it's really great color. In America, yellow is like the least liked color by anybody. I don't know, men and women, people in America don't like yellow. And if you were to break it down by gender, there's also preferences on colors. So if you were to take our world and split it into like West and then East, In the East, you have a prevalence of people liking red. In the West, you have a prevalence of people liking blue. And so those are some of like the basic understandings of color when it comes to culturally understanding how color has meaning. But the thing beyond that is, how do you assemble something together? So it's kind of like a recipe. So when you put those different color elements together, they have a cumulative overall effect. So if you were to put orange with yellow, we're talking about something completely different here. Then if you were to put blue with red, you might have feelings of patriotism. And so, yeah, that's some of what I had to share here today. Let me know if I can answer any questions for you while I'm here on the live on color psychology, and to give you a deeper understanding of how it affects your marketing, and how it affects how people perceive you as. That's the most important thing, is how do people perceive you? Leon, a lot of my competitors are purple. That's interesting. I don't really get that. Are they female? That would be my next question. Purple is often associated with wealth. Obviously, it's used in the vino industries. And it's actually used in a lot of women fitness trainers. Like, I feel like they've decided I don't want pink, and so they're like relying on purple, and that feeling of wealth and royalty and playing on that. I hate when people put yellow backgrounds on their profile pictures. I immediately delete their friend request. Yeah, it can be jarring. I mean, yellow also screams attention. Like, yellow and orange are caution symbols. And so when you use them in a really heavy dose, it's going to get attention. It also can be overwhelming to the person who's receiving that information. And then sometimes you don't even know why you like somebody or don't like somebody, or why you're attracted to them or not. Scribe Media, big company in my field, is all purple. And maybe Scribe Media just wanted to be different. I mean, one of the reasons people use purple too is it isn't a favorite color by a lot of people, but it's not on the top list of hated. It's kind of like in the middle-ish. Like, there are so many companies that are blue. There are so many companies that are black. And there's a good amount of companies that are red, followed by green and those colors. And so when you get to purple, there is a much smaller population there. The other thing that's good about purple is it prints well. You can see purple against white really well. So if you were to dwindle down black, we would get back to purple. Scribe Media. So Brenda's asking, if your target audience is in the West, but you're using colors that are preferred in the East, are you doing your branding a disservice? Probably. Yeah. I mean, and again, I caveated this at the beginning of it, because I always like to just, tell it like it is. Your branding is not going to completely make or break you. That's going to be you. That's going to be you, your offer, your reputation, and if you're going to show up and do things. But what it does, Brenda, it has a subconscious effect on what your avatar is looking for. It also says something that if you're American based and you have blue everywhere, it's quite predictable that that's what you are going to do. And it almost sends a signal like, I haven't stopped to understand your cultural background, where you're from, and how you perceive things. So beyond just red, I mean, I'd be interested to know like what specific country, if there is a specific country, and then what they view as beautiful. Because those are kind of the bases of attraction, is what do they view as beautiful and what's around them all the time. It's also a sense of comfort. So if you're coming from the West, if your target audience is in the West, but you're using colors that are in the East. So if your target audience is in the West and you're using stuff in the East, there is a little bit of uneasiness because you're unfamiliar. And so what is it the basis of selling? It's know, like, trust. So you want to get people to know you faster, trust you faster, and the likability is kind of just built in from your rapport and what they read about you, what they watch on your lives, what they see in your own organic copy. So I hope that helps. Hit me up with if you have more specific questions on what that is. But basically, color psychology is using everything in your arsenal, just like organic copy is, just like using your headline, just like going lives is. You want to use everything in your arsenal to come across as the strongest competitor. You want to be the strongest warrior that's out in that field. Because remember, every mistake, every misstep you make on the battlefield, your competitor is right behind you, ready to hopscotch you over. So that's where color psychology really comes into play. And plus, it's fun. It's fun to do that. Um, Brenda, nice thought process. The yellow makes their profile look like a ClickFunnels page. Leon hates yellow, FYI. So if you want to be friends with yellow, if you want yellow in your life, Leon is not going to be in it. So blue, what does that dredge up in people? So blue is literally the most favorite color. So blue signifies trust. The very first thing is trust. The other thing is reliability, is also what blue comes across. So, I mean, obviously trust, fidelity, those are really number one in businesses. There are a million shades of blue, Charles. So if you were to go from like a darker navy blue, you might be working towards luxury. You might be working towards stability. Those pieces of it. If you kind of are in a middle blue, you're looking at like trust. If you're at the sky blue or the teal end, if you get to the teal side of blue, then you're even looking at healing and peacefulness and calmness. And so suddenly you have all these like variances that happen with blue because of those differences in shade. And the great thing about blue, it's safe. Like there's a lot of safety and security associated with blue. What that does, I mean, I would say like 50% of branding is in blue. And so when you come out with blue, you might immediately like be likable because most people like blue. You also have a little bit of a forgettability factor. So it's not unique. And so if you were going to position yourself in a blue, because that makes sense in your audience, and the things I'd want to see is that your actual branding, as in like your icon, so the actual logo piece of your branding and the actual font, and then secondary colors, like those need to pop. So you would purposely need those other things to like stand out and be a little bit of a wow. Otherwise, you're going to look like Basic Betty. And I don't want you to look like Basic Betty. Nobody should look like Basic Betty, including Basic Betty. What are the pros and cons of changing your branding colors, especially if you feel like your brand is evolving and needs a facelift? I think that's absolutely valid. I think it's needed. And so I was telling this to some of my clients. Every 5 to 7 years, your brand cycle is over. What that doesn't mean though, doesn't mean let's go rename ourselves. Let's go change everything about who we are. Oops. Like we had completely the wrong, basis of what our icon was, and it has no symbolism and it has no meaning. That's not the extreme you want to go. But Tracy, when you do have a solid brand, like naming is on point. Icon makes sense. And then tagline works together. You've got what I call the holy grail trifecta of what branding works together and pieces together. What that allows you to do is in 5 to 7 years, like look at the big players. Like look at Apple. Apple's not going to stay the same. Apple wasn't the same in 2000. They had the whole rainbow thing going on. And way before that, they had another icon going on. But the Apple itself never changed. So the font style changed, the way the apple got filled in changed. Those kind of experiences happen. And then Apple went on further because they actually have product. They used brand coloring on their iPhones. They specifically had different tiers of iPhones in different colors. Like I remember for me, when the rose gold came out, like you could not get rose gold unless you had like 64 megabytes of data or something like that. And I was like, when I looked at it, I was like, oh yeah. I don't care. Like, I just want the color. I just want the rose gold. That's the piece I want. And they knew that. Like Apple knew I wasn't going to do just black or white. I wanted my phone to be different. And then that caused me to pick a case that was clear so people could see I had the rose gold one and, those kind of things. So, awesome. We use a couple of shades. Yeah. So Charles, I think that it's knowing where are you within your competitors and are you showing up as the strongest competitor? So you can use blue if it's used skillfully. And I love using blue, and I always try to pick a blue though that feels a little bit unique. I try to do at least a combination that feels somewhat rare, and that makes me happy as a brand designer, that I'm giving my client something that's going to edge out the competition. And remember, some of this is subconscious. People just look at something and make quick second opinion on like, okay, are you interesting? Should I listen to you? Should I talk to you? Should I respond to your messenger? Like, how many of you, like, drop me a note, how many of you don't get responded to in Messenger? Like when you're trying to strike a conversation up with somebody who doesn't know who you are. I'm not talking about your friend from high school. I'm not talking about somebody you met in a group that like you are in a mastermind together. I'm in a mastermind. Mostly everyone responds to me from there because we're friends and like we are working towards the same thing. But I'm talking about prospects. So tell me how many people roughly percentage wise are responding to you. If you're kind of in the cusp, and I'll just tell you this because I think there's a little bit of a lag. If you're less than 50% of your cold prospects are responding to you in Messenger, it is two things. Either your messages are off or you just don't look the part. Like your profile doesn't look the part. And they just think that they're not going to have a quality conversation. And like everyone, they don't have time. They just don't have time. And the people who chat you up in Messenger for too long, they have too much time. I'm going to give a lesson on, Basic Betty and Brokety Broke. If people are talking to you too long in Messenger with like really, really long responses, they have too much time on their hands and they're broke. So heard it here first. Basic Betty. I almost tagged someone named Betty. I'm sure Betty would love this. So yeah, that's what we've covered today. So if you haven't had a chance to see the beginning, I kind of laid the foundation of what color psychology is and the fact that you can have a basic idea of what color is individually. Yellow, happy sunshine. Yellow also hated by everyone in the US, loved by everyone in China. Red, danger, but also excitement. Also like movement towards action. Orange, like passion, energy. Also not a super liked color in the US, like follows yellow. You can have a basic meaning of it, but when you combine orange and yellow, you combine blue and purple, you combine different shades of blue, you add in black or you add in gold, you then have a net cumulative different effect. So that's what color psychology is. Getting into that, knowing where you stand. The first step is just knowing where your competitors are. Are you differentiated in a positive way? And are you wielding that power that's within your toolkit to wield? So I hope this was helpful. It was kind of a fun topic. I love color. I've brought up in Indian culture. So my parents came here from India when they were like 25 and 30 years old. And, in Indian culture, it's all about colors. Like these really gorgeous, like saris that are just filled with bright colors and combinations. And, we enjoy it. We think it's a lot of fun. We even have a whole festival, in February. It's called Holi. And we take color. So this is where some of those color runs have come from, where they take the color and they throw the powdered color at you. That actually came from the Indian tradition of Holi, which is actually a festival to celebrate the food and the harvest and fertility. Got to get the fertility in there and all of that. So I call myself a color genius. I freaking love color. I know how to combine it. It's one of my favorite things in my steps with my clients. And I enjoy wearing color, but today I actually purposely had on a gray. I didn't want to lean in any kind of favor towards a color. And in case you're curious, I actually do not have a favorite color. I haven't had a favorite color since I was probably 10 years old. Because then I realized that I love color in all of its moods and emotions and, trends and, how it can come across to people, and how it makes you feel. And, I switch my favorite color every 3 months. So my daughter is totally confused by this. And she's like, why don't you have a favorite color? And I'm like, I do. I have a favorite color, 3 months quarterly. So that's where I stand on colors. So, Tracy's saying, I had a chatty Cathy on Messenger last night and knew he wasn't my avatar, but was able to offer him some help and then close the conversation. That's awesome. And I mean, you might catch some people who are just in the midst of chatting. But just in general, I would say the people who want to move forward with you, your prospects that want to get to the next step, they're pretty quick to wrap up that conversation. And as you should be too. You should be leading them towards where this is going. Or if not, just gain comfort that you're building a relationship, you're building a friend. I'm not a big fan of rushing people through the process. I just mean that long messenger, most likely positively correlated to not having that cash. And not having clients to fulfill. So that's kind of what it comes down to. So equal opportunity color lover. Exactly. So Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. I am a fan of all things color, and I hope you have a beautifully colorful Tuesday. Take care. All right, bye.